Ever feel like you're living in like a real-life thriller movie?
Oh, yeah.
This episode is packed with stories that'll have you wondering if
Right.
if truth is actually stranger than fiction.
Mm-hmm.
We got three chilling tales from our
Yeah.
listeners,
Okay.
and they sent chills down my spine.
Really?
We're talking about a mother's terrifying home invasion,
Wow.
a ghostly encounter in a haunted warehouse,
Oh.
and a veterinarian's haunting experience
Okay.
with a dog who seemingly came back from the dead.
Hmm.
I know it sounds like a movie marathon on the Ford Feed channel,
Yeah.
but trust me, these stories are anything but fiction.
Okay.
So get comfy,
All right.
maybe grab a nightlight,
Mm.
and prepare to dive deep into the world of the unexplained.
What's so fascinating about these stories is the way they blur the lines between the ordinary and the extraordinary.
Yeah.
We all have our routines, our sense of normalcy,
Yeah.
and then suddenly something happens that shatters that reality.
Right.
These stories force us to confront the unexpected,
Yeah.
to grapple with the possibility
Yeah.
that there are forces at play we might not fully understand.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, let's unpack our first tale.
All right.
Picture this. It's a peaceful Saturday morning.
Okay.
A mom, her partner, and their 7-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
They're making coffee,
Okay.
waiting for friends to arrive for a play date.
Right.
Everything seems perfectly normal.
Okay.
Until,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
This story really highlights the fragility of our sense of security.
Yeah.
We often think of our homes as sanctuaries.
Yes.
But as this story shows that safety can be shattered in an instant,
Right.
it's a stark reminder that the unexpected can happen anywhere, at
Yeah.
any time. You just never know.
Suddenly,
Yeah.
a man in a ski mask,
Okay.
armed with a gun, bursts into their home.
Oh, my goodness.
He forces the family to the ground,
Whoa.
threatening violence if they don't cooperate.
Jeez.
Talk about a nightmare scenario, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The level of violence is truly chilling,
Right.
especially considering the presence of a child.
Yeah.
It speaks to the ruthlessness of some criminals,
Right.
their willingness to terrorize innocent families for their own gain.
Yeah. Just awful.
It is.
The mom, trying to keep everyone calm,
Okay.
offers the intruder her valuables,
Mm-hmm.
even suggesting he check her daughter's room for piggy banks.
Really?
She's desperately trying to de-escalate the situation
Okay.
to protect her family from harm.
It's remarkable how calmly she acts under such duress.
Yeah.
Her maternal instincts kick in,
Right.
and she's willing to do whatever it takes to shield her child from danger.
Yeah, just amazing.
It is.
But here's where things take an even darker turn.
Oh.
The intruder, becoming increasingly agitated,
Okay.
drags the mom into her daughter's room
Oh.
and assaults her.
Oh, gosh.
The fact that he chooses the child's room as the location for the assault.
Right. It
Yeah.
adds a layer of psychological cruelty
I
to
think
his
it's brilliant.
actions.
Yeah, it's just awful.
It's a deliberate violation of the family's safe space, a way of exerting dominance and control.
Now, you might think this is where the story ends.
Right.
But this mom,
Okay.
she's a fighter.
Good for her.
She trained in Krav Maga.
Wow.
And in a moment of incredible bravery,
Okay.
she sees her chance.
All right.
She delivers a powerful kick to the intruder's kneecap,
Oh.
giving her and her family the opportunity to escape.
Wow.
Can you imagine the adrenaline pumping through her veins in that moment?
This is a testament to the empowering nature of self-defense training.
Yeah.
It not only equips individuals with the physical skills to defend themselves,
Right.
but it also instills a sense of confidence and mental preparedness
Yeah.
to react decisively in a crisis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They bolt out of the house,
Okay.
calling the police as they run.
All right.
The intruder vanishes,
Mm-hmm.
but the trauma of that day lingers.
Right.
For years, they live with the fear, the memories,
Yeah.
and the unanswered questions.
Yeah. This is a crucial point.
Yeah.
While the physical wounds might heal,
Right.
the psychological scars of such an experience
Yeah.
can be long-lasting.
Mm-hmm.
It underscores the need for support systems and resources for victims of trauma
Right.
to help them navigate the aftermath of such horrific events.
Years later, though,
Okay.
there's a twist.
Oh.
The attacker is finally apprehended for other crimes,
Okay.
and his fingerprints match those found at the scene of the home invasion.
Wow.
Justice is served,
Right.
bringing a sense of closure,
Yeah.
though the family's ordeal remains a stark reminder of the vulnerability we all face.
This raises an important question for all of us.
Yeah.
What would you do in a crisis situation?
Right.
Have you considered the importance of self-defense training?
Yeah.
Not just for the physical skills, but for the mental fortitude it can provide.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's something to ponder,
Yeah.
particularly in a world where,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, these kinds of situations can arise.
Absolutely. This story really makes you think about how quickly life can change.
Right.
And how crucial it is to be prepared for the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not just about our own actions.
Right.
It's about the forces at play in the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
Forces we might not even fully comprehend.
Yeah.
Our next tale takes us into the realm of the supernatural,
Okay.
where a skeptical warehouse worker receives a ghostly warning
Wow.
that may have saved his life.
This story takes us to the edge of belief,
Right.
forcing us to confront the question
Yeah.
of whether there are entities beyond our understanding,
Mm-hmm.
entities that might even intervene in our lives in ways we can't explain.
Our storyteller, Zach, is a big fan of the morbid and macabre.
Okay.
He's worked in his fair share of haunted workplaces
Mm-hmm.
and even has his own ghostly protocol,
Really?
which involves talking to the spirits and asking permission to work in their space.
Interesting.
I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'd probably be packing my bags and finding a new job.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
But Zach,
Okay.
he's not easily spooked.
It's interesting how people react differently to the unknown.
Right.
Some are terrified,
Mm-hmm.
while others are intrigued.
Yes.
Zach seems to fall into the latter category,
Right.
almost welcoming the possibility of encountering the supernatural.
One night, while working in a notoriously haunted warehouse, things take a chilling turn.
Okay.
This warehouse is infamous for its resident ghosts. A man who died in the bathroom,
Okay.
and a young girl who tragically jumped in front of a train.
Wow.
I mean, just the setting itself sounds like something out of a horror movie.
The history of the warehouse creates a palpable sense of unease.
Right.
It's a place steeped in tragedy,
Yeah.
a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems particularly thin.
Now, Zach is usually pretty casual about these ghostly encounters.
Okay.
But on this particular night, something feels different.
Okay.
He's working in an area known as the girls' corner,
Mm-hmm.
and while he sees her...
The specificity of the location, the girls' corner,
Right.
is significant.
Yeah.
It suggests that certain spaces might hold a greater concentration of supernatural energy, making them more prone to paranormal activity.
But it's not just a fleeting glimpse.
Oh.
The ghost of the young girl appears solid,
Wow.
almost lifelike,
Okay.
and delivers a chilling warning. Get out.
Oh my.
I can only imagine the blood draining from his face at that moment.
This is a pivotal moment in the story.
Yeah.
The girl's warning is direct,
Right.
urgent, and undeniably real to Zach.
Right.
It transcends the usual realm of ghostly apparitions,
Yeah.
becoming a visceral experience that compels him to act.
And he doesn't hesitate.
Okay.
Zach hightails it out of there on his forklift,
Really?
just in the nick of time.
Wow.
Moments later, an earthquake hits,
Oh my goodness.
causing significant damage to the warehouse.
Wow.
The exact spot where Zach had been working
Mm-hmm.
is crushed by falling pallets.
Oh, wow.
Had he stayed well, let's just say it wouldn't have been pretty.
This is where the story takes on a chilling layer of what if.
Yeah.
It suggests that the girl's warning wasn't just a random occurrence,
Right.
but a deliberate act of intervention.
Yeah.
A ghostly hand reaching out to save a life.
This story really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
Are some spirits truly benevolent,
Right.
lingering to protect the living from harm?
Mm-hmm.
Or was Zach's escape simply a matter of sheer luck,
Right.
a coincidence that defies the odds?
It's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries.
Yeah.
The nature of ghosts,
Mm.
their intentions,
Right.
and their connection to the world of the living.
Yeah.
Zach's story adds another piece to that puzzle.
Right.
A piece that hints at a possible protective role for some spirits.
I'm definitely sleeping with the lights on tonight after hearing that.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But let's shift gears a bit
Yeah.
to a story that's both heartwarming
Okay.
and profoundly unsettling.
Okay.
We're talking about a veterinarian wrestling with a unique phobia
Mm-hmm.
and a dog who seemingly returns from the grave.
This next story delves into the world of veterinary medicine,
Okay.
a profession that carries immense responsibility
Right.
and a deep emotional connection to both animals and their human families.
Yeah, it really does.
It also explores the ethical considerations surrounding euthanasia,
Right.
a topic that often evokes strong feelings and ethical dilemmas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our storyteller, a seasoned veterinarian,
Okay.
is haunted by a case that shook him to his core.
Really?
It all starts with a seemingly routine checkup for a basset hound named Bonnie. I mean, who doesn't love a basset hound?
They're so cute.
The seemingly mundane nature of the initial setup
Right.
creates a stark contrast with the unsettling events that unfold,
Right.
amplifying the story's impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but as the owners start explaining why they're there,
Okay.
the vet is met with a truly shocking revelation. They tell him that Bonnie had been diagnosed with terminal cancer,
Oh, no.
euthanized and buried.
Oh, wow.
But here's the kicker. Days later, Bonnie came home,
What?
perfectly healthy.
This is where the story crosses over into the realm of the unbelievable.
Right.
A dog pronounced dead, buried, and then reappearing.
Right.
It challenges our fundamental understanding of life and death,
Yeah.
leaving us grappling with the possibility of something beyond our comprehension.
It turns out that the original vet had not only misdiagnosed Bonnie's condition,
Oh, wow.
but had also failed to properly administer the euthanasia.
Oh, no.
Miraculously, Bonnie had survived the ordeal
Okay.
and dug herself out of her grave.
Wow. What a dog.
I mean, talk about a dog with a will to live.
This incident highlights the immense responsibility veterinarians carry.
Yeah.
Their decisions have life or death consequences,
Right.
and even the smallest error can have devastating impacts, as we see in Bonnie's case.
For our storyteller, this case was more than just a professional mishap.
Right.
It triggered a deep-seated fear of burying animals alive,
Wow.
a phobia that eventually led him to leave clinical practice.
This aspect of the story reveals the profound emotional burden
Yeah.
that many veterinarians carry.
Right.
They're constantly grappling with the weight of their decisions,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that a misdiagnosis or a procedural error could have irreversible consequences for their patients.
Bonnie's story is truly remarkable, wouldn't you agree?
It is.
But it also raises so many questions.
Yeah.
How could this happen?
Right?
What are the ethical implications of euthanasia?
Mm-hmm.
And would you, as a pet owner, ever question a vet's diagnosis?
Right.
Especially when it involves such a difficult decision.
It's a story that stays with you,
Yeah.
forcing you to confront uncomfortable truths about the veterinary profession,
Right.
the fallibility of medical expertise, and the very nature of life and death.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
These listener tales are not just entertainment.
Right.
They're invitations to think critically, to question our assumptions,
Right.
and to explore the boundaries of what we believe to be possible.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the deep dive so compelling.
I agree.
We're not just sharing stories.
Right.
We're diving deep into the mysteries of human experience,
Mm-hmm.
the unexplainable and the extraordinary.
Right. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were discussing a veterinarian's haunting experience with a dog who seemingly defied death. That story really made us question the line between life and death, didn't it? But now we're going to shift gears a bit and explore a mystery that hits a little closer to home.
You know, it's funny you should say that. When I think of home, I think of comfort, safety, a place where you can let your guard down. But what happens when your safe space becomes the source of your fear? Our next story explores just that.
This story taps into a primal fear, the fear of the unknown lurking within the walls of our homes. It's the kind of story that makes you look twice at every shadow, every creak in the floorboards.
Our storyteller, Morgan, considers herself a believer in all things paranormal. Ghosts, spirits, you name it. She's open to it, except for zombies. She draws the line at zombies. But after moving into her new home with her husband, she encounters a phenomenon that even she struggles to explain. And no, it's not zombies.
It's interesting how even those who embrace the paranormal have their limits, their boundaries of belief. But as Morgan's story shows, sometimes reality can be far stranger than any fiction we might conjure up.
The story unfolds in the summer of 2020. Morgan is heavily pregnant, and she and her husband have just bought a house in her hometown. Now, this isn't some creepy old Victorian mansion with a tragic backstory. It's a relatively modern home with no known history of death or anything particularly spooky.
The ordinariness of the setting makes the subsequent events all the more unsettling. It suggests that the paranormal isn't confined to haunted houses or ancient graveyards, but can intrude upon even the most seemingly mundane aspects of our lives.
They're in the process of renovating, so they're temporarily living in the living room, surrounded by boxes and furniture. One evening, after returning from her stepdad's birthday party, Morgan walks into her house and is met with a sight that sends shivers down her spine. Blood splattered on the kitchen floor.
That initial discovery of blood is a visceral shock, a jarring disruption of the sense of normalcy we associate with our homes. It instantly transforms the familiar into something alien and threatening.
Her first thought, maybe her cat Carl got into some kind of scrape. But as she walks into the living room, it's clear this is something far more serious. There's more blood on the bed trailing across the floor and pooling near the front door. And here's the truly creepy part. The front door is wide open, but the doorknob is still locked.
The locked doorknob is a crucial detail. It introduces an element of the impossible, defying any rational explanation. It's a clear indication that something is deeply amiss, something that transcends our understanding of the physical world.
Panicked and confused, Morgan calls her father, a retired police officer. He tells her to get out of the house immediately and call the police just in case someone is still inside. I mean, would you do the same?
In a situation like this, the father's advice is spot on. Personal safety should always be the top priority. It's better to err on the side of caution and let the professionals assess the situation.
The police arrive and thoroughly search the house, but they find no signs of forced entry or anyone inside. But the blood? It's very real. They collect a sample, and a field test confirms it's human blood.
The confirmation that the blood is human elevates the mystery to a whole new level. It eliminates any possibility of a simple accident involving a pet and suggests a far more sinister scenario.
They dust for fingerprints, swab various locations, even take a blood-stained sheet from the bed as evidence. The police advise Morgan and her husband to call if anything else strange happens and leave them with more questions than answers.
The meticulousness of the police investigation underscores the seriousness of the situation. They're treating this as a potential crime scene, even though they haven't found any suspects or any indication of how the blood got there.
A few days later, a detective calls with an update. The blood sample has been run through their system, but there are no matches. The case, as far as the police are concerned, remains unsolved.
The lack of a match in the police database deepens the mystery. It rules out any known criminals or missing persons, leaving Morgan and her husband with a chilling sense of uncertainty.
But the story doesn't end there. A month later, Morgan and her husband are painting their office. They step out for lunch, and when they return, they find a small blood splatter on the freshly painted wall.
The reappearance of the blood this time on a freshly painted surface suggests that this is not a one-time event, but an ongoing phenomenon. It's a chilling reminder that whatever happened that first night, whatever force is at play, it hasn't gone away.
And it doesn't stop there. They continue to find these small blood spatters throughout the house, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. They try to ignore it, clean it up, and move on with their lives, but the mystery lingers, casting a shadow over their newly renovated home.
The recurring nature of the bloodstains creates a sense of psychological torment, a feeling of being haunted by an unseen presence. It's a constant reminder that something is amiss, something they can't explain or control.
It's not just the bloodstains either. Morgan starts feeling like she's being watched, experiencing chills and a general sense of unease. Objects go missing only to reappear in odd places days later. You know, the classic haunted house stuff.
The feeling of being watched is a common element in paranormal reports. It suggests a conscious presence, an unseen entity that is aware of the occupants and perhaps even interacting with them in subtle, unnerving ways.
Desperate for answers, they run a history check on the house, but find no records of any deaths, tragedies, or anything that might explain what they're experiencing. The land itself isn't on an ancient burial ground or anything like that. The mystery of the blood remains unsolved, a chilling enigma that hangs over their lives.
The lack of any historical explanation adds to the unsettling nature of the mystery. It suggests that the source of the blood and the accompanying phenomena are tied to something unknown, something that defies conventional understanding.
What makes this story so creepy, at least for me, is the lack of any discernible motive or pattern. The blood just appears randomly with no explanation. It's a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying things are the ones we can't explain, the ones that defy logic and reason. And now for a story that hits even closer to home for me, considering I'm a big animal lover myself. We're going back to the world of veterinary medicine, but this time it's the veterinarian himself who is battling a deeply personal and unsettling fear.
This next story explores the psychological and emotional toll that a profession like veterinary medicine can take. It's a side we don't often consider, the hidden anxieties and fears that come with making life-or-death decisions for our beloved animal companions.
Our storyteller is a veterinarian who, after 17 years of practice, makes the difficult decision to close his clinic and pursue a different path. He cites several reasons: wanting to spend more time with his family, explore other interests, that sort of thing. But there's a deeper, more unsettling reason that weighs heavily on his mind. A phobia stemming from a particularly disturbing case involving, you guessed it, a basset hound named Bonnie.
This phobia, the fear of burying animals alive, speaks to a deep-seated anxiety that many veterinarians likely share, a fear of making a mistake that could have devastating consequences for a creature entrusted to their care.
It all goes back to his final year of vet school during clinical rotation at the university teaching hospital. He's assigned a case involving Bonnie, a seemingly healthy basset hound, brought in for a routine checkup. Now, you'd think a teaching hospital would be reserved for more complex cases, right?
That's what makes this case so intriguing. The initial setup seems deceptively mundane, almost routine. It's a classic case of misdirection, lulling the listener into a sense of normalcy before unveiling the true horror of the situation.
He's a bit puzzled, to say the least. I mean, why bring a seemingly healthy dog to a teaching hospital? He conducts a thorough exam, checks her vitals, the whole 9 yards, but he can't find anything wrong with Bonnie. His attending veterinarian confirms his findings, but they're both curious as to why the owners brought Bonnie to such a specialized facility.
The mystery surrounding the owner's motivations adds a layer of suspense to the story. It's like a puzzle box, slowly revealing its unsettling contents.
Finally, the owners reveal the heartbreaking truth. The week before, their local vet had diagnosed Bonnie with advanced incurable bone cancer. They made the difficult decision to euthanize her and buried her in the woods near their home.
This revelation is a gut punch, both for the veterinarian and for the listener. It shifts the tone of the story from one of medical curiosity to one of profound sadness and soon unsettling horror.
The family, needing time to grieve and process their loss, went on a 4-day vacation. But upon returning home, they were met with an unbelievable sight. Bonnie was waiting for them on their front porch.
The image of Bonnie the dog, believed to be dead and buried, waiting patiently on the porch, is both heartwarming and deeply disturbing. It challenges our understanding of death and the finality we associate with it, leaving us with a sense of wonder and unease.
At first, they thought it was a different basset hound. It happens, right? But after visiting Bonnie's grave and finding it disturbed with a torn body bag, they realized the horrifying truth. Bonnie had been buried alive.
This discovery is a nightmare scenario for any pet owner. The thought of their beloved animal regaining consciousness inside a coffin trapped underground is utterly terrifying. It speaks to our deepest fears about the vulnerability of those we love and the potential for human error to have devastating consequences.
It turned out that the original veterinarian had made a series of mistakes, not only misdiagnosing Bonnie's condition, but also failing to properly administer the euthanasia era. Bonnie, incredibly resilient, had survived the ordeal and dug herself out of her grave. That's one tough dog, wouldn't you say?
Bonnie's survival is a testament to the incredible resilience of animals, their will to live even in the face of unimaginable hardship. It's a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness of the story, a reminder that even in the face of death, life can find a way.
But for our storyteller, this case was a turning point. It triggered a deep-seated fear of making a similar mistake of burying an animal alive. The emotional weight of that possibility of causing that kind of suffering became unbearable.
His phobia is a reflection of his empathy and his dedication to his patients. It speaks to the moral weight veterinarians carry, knowing that their actions have profound consequences for the animals entrusted to their care.
He continued to practice for several years, but the fear lingered, casting a shadow over every euthanasia he performed. He started having nightmares, experiencing sleepless nights, and a constant anxiety that eventually led him to make the difficult decision to leave clinical practice.
His decision to leave clinical practice is a testament to his self-awareness and his commitment to both his own well-being and the welfare of his patients. It highlights the personal sacrifices that often come with professions that deal with life and death, and the toll that those experiences can take on even the most dedicated individuals.
Bonnie's story serves as a chilling reminder of the fallibility of even the most experienced professionals. It also highlights the importance of questioning diagnoses and seeking second opinions when it comes to the health and well-being of our beloved pets.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we can't always take things at face value, even when dealing with experts in their field. Sometimes a healthy dose of skepticism and a willingness to advocate for those we love can make all the difference.
You've hit the nail on the head there. We need to be informed, engaged, and willing to ask tough questions, especially when it comes to the well-being of our furry family members. But now for a story that takes us back to school, but not the kind you might remember. We're diving into a tale of a haunted high school where a student teacher encounters a ghostly presence that's both terrifying and strangely playful.
This next story taps into our primal fears of the unknown, especially within the seemingly familiar setting of a school. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary places can hold dark secrets, and that sometimes the line between the world of the living and the realm of the dead can become blurred in the most unexpected ways.
Our storyteller, a theater enthusiast pursuing her teaching degree, is no stranger to the idea of haunted theaters. In fact, she believes a theater isn't truly a theater without a resident ghost. But during her student teaching placement at a high school, she encounters a ghostly presence that surpasses all her previous experiences.
It's fascinating how her background in theater, a world often associated with make-believe and illusion, might have prepared her for an encounter with the supernatural. It's as if her experiences on stage with its tricks of light and sound have primed her for a world where the boundaries of reality can be easily manipulated.
Feeling overwhelmed with grading and her final project, she seeks refuge in the school's empty theater. As she sits on the pit shell working diligently, she hears heavy footsteps behind her. Thinking it's the set builder, she turns to greet him, only to find no one there.
The setting itself, the darkened theater with its hidden corners and high catwalks, creates an atmosphere of suspense. It's the perfect backdrop for a ghost story, a place where shadows can easily play tricks on the mind and where the line between imagination and reality can become blurred.
Unsettled but determined to finish her work, she tries to ignore the incident. But the strange occurrences continue. She hears chains swinging in the locked catwalk, then the light in the pit suddenly turns on, even though the switch is within her sight and no one is down there.
The escalating nature of the events is key to building tension. The noises become louder, closer, and more frequent, amplifying the storyteller's fear and suggesting that she is not alone in the theater.
Feeling a mix of fear and annoyance, she chalks it up to a teenage prank and tries to ignore it. But when the lights in the pit start flashing on and off rapidly, her anger boils over. She jumps down to confront the supposed prankster, ready to give them a piece of her mind.
Her anger is a fascinating element. It's almost as if she's more frustrated by the inconvenience than by the genuine fear she's experiencing. It speaks to a certain resilience, a refusal to be intimidated by the unknown, even when it's clearly trying to get her attention.
Reaching for the light switch, she's met with a chilling sight. A teenage girl with long auburn hair covering her face, dressed in a white nightgown, stands motionless in the pit.
The visual description of the ghost girl is quite striking. The pale skin, the long hair obscuring her face, the white nightgown, it evokes classic ghost story imagery, tapping into our primal fear of the unknown and the unsettling presence of the dead among the living.
Trying to maintain her authority, she tells the girl to go back to class. But there's no response, no movement, no acknowledgement. It's like the girl isn't even aware of her presence.
The silence is deafening. It amplifies the sense of unease and makes the girl's presence all the more unsettling. It suggests a detachment from the world of the living, a ghostly indifference that is both eerie and unnerving.
Still believing it's a prank, she reaches out to touch the girl's shoulder, saying, "Listen here." Before she can finish the sentence, the girl's hand shoots out, gripping her wrist tightly.
This is the turning point in the story. The physical contact shatters the illusion of a prank and plunges the storyteller into a realm of true terror. It's a visceral reminder that she's dealing with something that defies rational explanation, something that is both powerful and potentially dangerous.
And then the girl's head snaps up, revealing a face that will forever haunt the storyteller's nightmares. Stark white skin, pale lips, and eyes that are completely black, devoid of any color. She opens her mouth and lets out an ear-splitting scream, a sound that's both high-pitched and guttural, a cacophony of every sound imaginable.
The scream is a visceral detail that really brings the horror to life. It's a sound that assaults the senses, leaving the listener and the storyteller shaken to the core. It's a primal scream, a manifestation of the girl's anguish, her rage, or perhaps her desperate attempt to communicate with the world of the living.
Terrified, the storyteller wrenches her arm free, gathers her belongings, and flees back to the safety of the classroom. Her cooperating teacher, a seasoned veteran of the school, calmly asks if it was Dawn the monkey or the ghost girl.
The cooperating teacher's nonchalant reaction is both humorous and unsettling. It suggests that the haunting is not a secret at the school, that the staff and perhaps even the students are aware of the ghostly presences that inhabit the building. It normalizes the paranormal, creating an atmosphere where ghosts are just another part of the school's ecosystem.
Confused, the storyteller learns that the school is home to not one, but 3 distinct ghostly presences. There's Dawn, a seemingly harmless older man who mostly just walks around, perhaps even protecting others from the more mischievous entities. Then there's the monkey, a creature that crawls in the catwalks, throwing things and causing general mayhem. And finally, there's the ghost girl, the one who grabbed her wrist and unleashed that terrifying scream.
The different personalities of the ghosts make the haunting all the more intriguing. It's not just a single entity, but a whole cast of characters, each with their own motivations and quirks. It transforms the school from a place of learning into a supernatural crossroads, a place where the veil between worlds is thin and where the living and the dead coexist in an uneasy truce.
The storyteller, shaken by her experience, never reveals the full extent of her encounter to her students. She avoids being alone in the theater from that point on, always accompanied by a student or another teacher.
Her silence is understandable. In a world where the paranormal is often dismissed or ridiculed, it can be difficult to speak openly about such experiences. She might also be protecting her students, shielding them from a reality they might not be ready to face.
This story leaves us with a lingering sense of unease. What does it mean to share a space with the unseen? Are these ghosts simply echoes of the past, or do they have a more active role to play in the lives of the living?
It's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. And as we've seen in these tales, the answers, if they exist at all, are often elusive and unsettling. But the act of asking the questions, of exploring the boundaries of belief, and of confronting the mysteries that surround us, that's what makes these stories so compelling.
I think you've summed it up perfectly. These stories are not just about ghosts or the paranormal. They're about our human need to make sense of the world around us, to grapple with the unknown, and to find meaning in the face of the unexplainable. And that's what we're doing here on the Deep Dive. We're diving deep into the mysteries of human experience, exploring the boundaries of belief, and asking the tough questions. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. In the last segment, we heard a story about a high school haunted by not one, but 3 ghosts. Talk about a tough crowd for a student teacher to handle.
Indeed. That story was a great example of how hauntings can manifest in different ways, from the subtly unsettling to the outright terrifying. It also highlighted how the paranormal can intersect with our everyday lives, even in seemingly mundane places like a school.
Exactly. And speaking of the everyday, our final story brings us back to the world of veterinary medicine. But this time, it's the vet himself who is grappling with a deeply personal and unsettling fear. It's a fear that many of us who love animals can probably relate to on some level, the fear of our furry friends suffering.
This story is particularly poignant because it explores the emotional burden that comes with a profession dedicated to animal welfare. Veterinarians often have to make difficult decisions, weighing the needs of their patients against the wishes of their owners, and sometimes those decisions can have unintended and deeply disturbing consequences.
Our storyteller is a veterinarian who, after 17 years of practice, decides to close his clinic and pursue a different path. On the surface, his reasons seem pretty standard. Wanting to spend more time with his family, explore other interests, the classic life's too short kind of stuff. But underneath it all, there's a deeper, more unsettling reason driving his decision.
It's a fear that many veterinarians likely harbor, even if they never speak about it openly. The fear of misdiagnosis, of making a mistake that could lead to unnecessary suffering for an animal. It's a heavy burden to carry, especially when you're dealing with creatures who can't communicate their pain in words.
And for this vet, that fear stems from a particularly disturbing case involving a basset hound named Bonnie. Now, we've heard Bonnie's name before in this episode, haven't we? But this story takes us back to the very beginning, to the incident that sparked this vet's deep-seated phobia.
The repetition of Bonnie's name creates a sense of cyclical narrative, connecting seemingly disparate stories and highlighting the ripple effect that a single event can have on multiple lives. It also reinforces the theme of the episode, the unexpected and often unsettling ways in which our lives can intersect with the realm of the unknown.
It all goes back to his final year of vet school, during a clinical rotation at the university teaching hospital. He's assigned a case involving Bonnie, a seemingly healthy basset hound, brought in for a routine checkup. And he's immediately puzzled. Why would a perfectly healthy dog be brought to a teaching hospital, a place known for handling complex and often critical cases?
That initial puzzlement sets the stage for the unsettling truth that will soon be revealed. It creates a sense of foreshadowing, a hint that something isn't quite right, even if we can't yet put our finger on what it is.
He conducts a thorough examination, leaving no stone unturned. But he can't find anything wrong with Bonnie. His attending veterinarian, a seasoned professional, confirms his findings. They're both baffled. Why are these owners so insistent on having their seemingly healthy dog examined at a teaching hospital?
The mystery surrounding the owner's motivations adds a layer of suspense to the story. It's like a puzzle box, slowly revealing its unsettling contents.
And then the owners finally reveal the heartbreaking truth. The week before, their local vet had diagnosed Bonnie with advanced incurable bone cancer. Faced with the devastating prognosis, they made the agonizing decision to euthanize her. They buried her in the woods near their home, a place where she loved to play a final act of love for their beloved companion.
This revelation is a gut punch, both for the veterinarian and for the listener. It shifts the tone of the story from one of medical curiosity to one of profound sadness and soon unsettling horror.
The family needing time to grieve and process their loss went on a 4-day vacation. It's a time for them to try and heal, to come to terms with the void left by Bonnie's absence. But upon returning home, they're met with a sight that defies all logic, a slate that will forever haunt their memories.
The juxtaposition of the family's attempt to heal and the shocking reality that awaits them at home heightens the emotional impact of the story. It's a reminder that grief is a complex and often unpredictable process, and that sometimes, even in the midst of loss, life can throw us curveballs that challenge our understanding of the world.
Bonnie is waiting for them on their front porch. Their Bonnie. The dog they buried with their own hands. At first they refuse to believe their eyes. They think it's a different basset hound, a case of mistaken identity. It happens, right? But as they get closer, as they see the familiar markings, the glint of recognition in her eyes, the horrifying truth sinks in.
The gradual realization, the shift from disbelief to horrifying certainty, is masterfully crafted in this story. It allows the listener to experience the emotional roller coaster right alongside the family, amplifying the impact of the eventual revelation.
Bonnie's grave is disturbed. The body bag is torn. Their worst nightmare has come true. Bonnie was buried alive.
This discovery is a nightmare scenario for any pet owner. The thought of their beloved animal regaining consciousness inside a coffin trapped underground is utterly terrifying. It speaks to our deepest fears about the vulnerability of those we love and the potential for human error to have devastating consequences.
It turns out that the original veterinarian had made a series of critical errors. Not only had he misdiagnosed Bonnie's condition, but he had also failed to properly administer the euthanasia. And Bonnie, with an incredible will to live, had survived the unthinkable. She had clawed her way out of her grave, a testament to the sheer tenacity of life itself.
Bonnie's survival is both miraculous and deeply unsettling. It challenges our understanding of death and the finality we'd associate with it. It also highlights the ethical complexities of veterinary medicine and the immense responsibility that comes with the power to end a life, even with the best of intentions.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a horrifying story, but what does it have to do with the vet who's telling us this? He wasn't the one who made those mistakes, and you'd be right. But for our storyteller, this case was a turning point. It planted a seed of fear in his mind, a fear that would grow and fester over the years, ultimately shaping the course of his career.
This is where the story takes on a deeper psychological dimension. It explores the impact of trauma not just on those who directly experience it, but also on those who witness it, who are forced to confront the fragility of life and the potential for even the most well-intentioned actions to have unintended and horrifying consequences.
He continued to practice for several years, but the fear lingered. It became a specter that haunted him, casting a shadow over every euthanasia he performed. He started having nightmares, reliving Bonnie's story in his dreams. He couldn't shake the feeling that he might make a similar mistake, that he might accidentally bury an animal alive. The emotional weight of that possibility, the guilt and the horror of it all, became too much to bear.
His experience highlights the often hidden emotional toll that professions like veterinary medicine can take. These are individuals who dedicate their lives to caring for others, often in emotionally charged and high-pressure situations. It's a reminder that even those who appear strong and capable on the surface may be grappling with internal struggles that we can't always see.
And so he made the difficult decision to leave clinical practice. He couldn't bear the thought of living with that fear any longer, of potentially inflicting that kind of suffering on another creature. It was a decision born out of compassion, both for the animals he cared for and for himself.
His decision to leave clinical practice is a testament to his self-awareness and his commitment to both his own well-being and the welfare of his patients. It highlights the personal sacrifices that often come with professions that deal with life and death, and the toll that those experiences can take on even the most dedicated individuals.
Bonnie's story, while deeply disturbing, serves as a powerful reminder of several crucial points. First, it highlights the importance of questioning diagnoses and seeking second opinions, even when dealing with experts in their field. Second, it underscores the profound responsibility that veterinarians carry, a responsibility that extends beyond the technical aspects of their profession to encompass the emotional and ethical dimensions of animal care. And finally, it reminds us of the incredible resilience of animals, their will to live, and the profound bond we share with our furry companions.
Indeed, these listener tales, while diverse in their subject matter, all share a common thread. They remind us that life is full of surprises, both wondrous and unsettling, and that the boundaries of what we consider possible are constantly being challenged. They invite us to embrace the unknown, to question our assumptions, and to marvel at the resilience of both the human and animal spirit in the face of adversity.
And that's precisely what we strive to do here on The Deep Dive. We encourage you to continue exploring these mysteries, to share your own stories, and to keep that spark of curiosity alive. After all, it's the questions that keep us searching the unknown that keeps us learning, and the unexplainable that reminds us that the world is a far stranger and more wondrous place than we often give it credit for. Until next time, keep diving deep.